We heard from the Health Minister today on the way forward around our vaccine rollout. It does seem that it's going to resume quite soon, and we are awaiting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. After, of course, we heard the AstraZeneca vaccine doesn't seem to give great protection against the variant dominant in our country. Of course, protecting the public in matters of health is the ambit of Professor Malegapuru Makgoba, who, of course, is our health ombuds. And let's discuss the COVID-19 vaccine rollout with him now. Professor, thank you very much for joining us. Looking at the decision to put the AstraZeneca vaccine rollout on hold for a short while, do you believe that was a good call?
I think it was an excellent call that was based on scientific facts, and the science was done in South Africa by, two of our most eminent scientists, and the data is respectable, it's valid, it's well analyzed, and it has been critiqued. And I think, in fact, the data says that the AstraZeneca vaccine does not protect South Africans who are infected by the new variant that is causing approximately 90 to 95% of our infections. So I think as a public health person, and as the Minister of Health, and as the scientists of South Africa, we couldn't allow that to happen, such that we're testing or we're immunizing people on something that we know doesn't work in our country and in our setting. It may work in Europe, it may work in other places where I think the dominant circulating virus is the original one, for which I think the AstraZeneca vaccine has been proved to be efficacious. Now, from where I'm sitting, I know that there are about 5 or 6 vaccines that have been approved. It is the Moderna and it is the Pfizer that are approximately at 95% efficacious. It is the Sputnik 5 vaccine from Russia, which is at 92, and it is the Novavax vaccine, which is at 89. And then it is the Johnson & Johnson that is at 66 and 57 in South Africa. And then it is the AstraZeneca, which is below 20%, and it is the least effective and not effective against the circulating dominant strain in our country.
It's quite interesting. Our London correspondent is just tweeting out a recommendation from the World Health Organization, and this is just coming through to us now, that the WHO recommends the AstraZeneca jab for use in countries even where variants are present, for use in over 65s, and that there's a gap between 8 and 12 weeks. So it's interesting. South Africa really is leading the way, in a way, on deciding what's going to work best. And I think the world is watching us to see how we handle these very difficult challenges, because, as you say, the science is unfolding, and we're trying to make decisions as we go.
I think you're absolutely correct. I think we must all accept that the AstraZeneca vaccine works, and it works for the original, I think, virus that was described as causing COVID-19. There's no question about that. As I say, it is about 62% in the classical study that they did that was published in the Lancet. It is actually the least, I think, efficacious of the candidate vaccines that at the moment are on the market.
Yeah.
But we have now done a study in South Africa where it has been shown that the dominant strain, which is B1351, that causes our infection, is resistant, I think, to being neutralized by antibodies that are generated from the AstraZeneca vaccine. And on the basis of that, no Minister of Health on the planet would be able to recommend and sustain an argument that AstraZeneca should be used in their country.
Johnson & Johnson, of course.
Let me make this very simple scientific fact. If the AstraZeneca vaccine does not protect mild and moderate disease in South Africa, it will not have any effect on severe disease. I mean, that's almost illogical to have something that cannot protect you against a mild disease and suddenly it has to protect you against severe disease. It just is scientifically irrational.
Let's talk about Johnson & Johnson. That vaccine does look like it could be a good fit for us here in South Africa. The health minister is making moves to get it here as quickly as possible. We're getting emergency authorization to use it. I think the concern from a sort of public point of view is that it's moving so very fast. Of course, we want it to move fast. There's always that fear that corners are going to be cut. Is that the sort of thing that you're keeping an eye on? Are you proactive in that sense, or do you wait for a complaint to come your way and then investigate?
No. Let me put it this way. I also happen to sit, in the Operation Warp Speed Data Safety Monitoring Board, which monitors most of these vaccines that have come out except the Pfizer. So I've seen the clinical trials on the bench, the details of those clinical trials. I can tell you that the Johnson & Johnson and all the others that we have approved so far are safe vaccines. They are efficacious in the way that I think they've been described and published in the literature. So I have no doubt that the Johnson & Johnson is one of the safest, I think, vaccine candidates that we have, looking at the raw data that has been analyzed. So the difference, I think, about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is that it's a single-dose vaccine, unlike most of the other vaccines that are 2 doses. And secondly, that it has been tested in South Africa, within the population of South Africa, and it has been found to be efficacious at a ratio of about 57%, and the bar or the threshold for efficaciousness is defined by the Food and Drug Administration as being around 50%. And anything that is above that is actually regarded as good and efficacious.
Well, thank you so much for chatting to us this evening, Professor Malegapuru Makgoba, our health ombudsman. And he mentioned the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. After 6 o'clock, I'll be speaking to Professor Glenda Gray. She, of course, is not only CEO of the Medicine Research Council, she's also the co-lead investigator on those J&J trials here in South Africa.